welcome to a post game one episode of the Rockets Talk. We did not lie about seeing you guys after the game. Roosh, obviously, this is not how we wanted the game to turn out. I think we both predicted that the Rockets would take game one. There's a lot to unpack tonight, so we can go ahead and get started. Let's just start from the top, bro. What did you think about how the Rockets played against the Warriors in game one?
Okay, so let me start by saying, if you came here for, nothing but positivity, then I apologize in advance because I'm going to keep it real. That's just what we're going to do. All right. And let me just put that disclaimer out there. Look, they battled. That's the positive, right? I mean, the way they came out felt too good to be true. It ended up being too good to be true. When they went down 23, 66, 43, I was like, wow, I can't believe it got this out of hand. I mean, on one hand, I could believe it, but just to see it happen was a different feeling. I was the whole time we were talking about on the pod, I was like, yo, we're playing with house money. Like, I don't feel the nerves, blah, blah, blah. And that was true for most of it. But man, when they made that comeback, I was getting antsy, right? I was like feeling it. I really, really wanted them to complete the comeback. But all in all, tons of mistakes, numerous ways. I think the most positive thing, the two most positive things are, one, Alperen Şengün is the real deal. Super proud of how that kid showed up to play. It's really funny when a lot of discourse on Rockets Twitter over the last few years was, Şengün in the playoffs is going to get played off the floor and blah, blah, blah. And man, this is the type of team that has the personnel to play. If you think he's going to get played off the floor, this is the team that has the personnel to do it. And they did not. He did not get played off the floor. He belonged every single minute that he was playing. So that was cool to see. Obviously, we'll see how the series plays out. But game one, I think his game one was better than any Sabonis game against the Warriors in their playoff series. And then number two is that the double big worked, and it worked with Steph on the floor. So it looks like there is some sustainability to it. They're just going to maybe have to go to it a lot more than Ime probably wants to. And whether or not Steven Adams gasses out is going to be a question. The Rockets had 22 offensive rebounds. 22. Mm-hmm. That's crazy. The problem is they couldn't convert. And also, like we talked about, poor free throw shooting ended up hurting them a lot. If they were able to make their free throws, they're in that game late. And they still were in the game late, but instead of being down 82-75, maybe they're down 82-79 or 82-80, right? And that ends up mattering. A lot to dive into though, but those are my just first, gut reactions and comments. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, I think hit on a lot of good things you just said. I think my main takeaway is that what I've talked about all year is that the playoffs expose everything. Like, you cannot hide in the playoffs. Whatever you think your player's weakness is, if you know it as a fan, I guarantee you the other coaching staff knows what it is. And I think for probably everybody except Alp, we got to see a little bit of everybody's like kryptonite on the court. Like, you think about Amen Thompson. I had said, kind of jokingly in our last pod, hey, Amen, if you're not going to hit shots, we're going to dare the Warriors did that. You got to see him kind of get forced to be a spacer. And for the first time, a team actually says, do it, Rockets. You're going to put him out there in the corner or in the slot. Okay. We're going to mud up everything else and let him have to be that outlet valve. You got to see, we talked about the strengths of the Warriors, and I tweeted this at you when we had the last pod. They are not a great defense, but and this is for the regular season. We all know these vet teams turn up in the playoffs, so they could be the number one defense going forward. Another reason why you really, this is a tough test for the young Rockets, because teams with Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, and Steph, whatever they are in the regular season, it means nothing at all. They could go into the postseason, become the best team, like in the whole, and win it all, honestly. But they, all the things that you see that we don't want our guys to be in situations to do, they kind of exposed it. Jalen trying to drive in the paint. He's not going to get those easy layups. This was something that I talked about, like I said in the last pod. They like to kind of, put a lot of bodies in the paint. They're not good on the perimeter. You might even get by a lot of their defenders, but you're going to see 3 or 4 guys, and they're going to hit you. And the refs aren't going to call it, which is another fascinating thing to watch throughout the series, is the way the teams are being reffed. Fred, not being good. Our backcourt, bro, went 7 of 34 tonight. You can't win many games in the playoffs doing that. I just think that the Rockets really got hit in the jaw if you use a fight analogy, and I'm gonna give them, because they're young, a 1 game buffer to adjust to the playoffs. Now, schematically, there's some things that we could do to capitalize on, like you said, the rebounding. But this is by far, in my opinion, the worst matchup that we could have faced. And a lot of it has nothing to do with talent. A lot of it has nothing to do with even personnel or play style. It just comes down to experience, bro. And I think we got to see a little bit of that tonight as the game went on and things kind of slowed down.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask you this. And by the way, one other thing is another takeaway is the defense. It was for real. I mean, Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler scored 56 of Golden State's 95, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's you expect them to get theirs. Nobody else got theirs though. Pods had a decent game, but that was it. Buddy Hield was a no-show. Their whole bench was nothing really. Draymond Green was typical Draymond Green on defense and doing the things he does. But I mean, what do you have? 4.6 rebounds, 3 dimes. Like, other than Steph, Moses Moody, I don't think he had a field goal until that like
late
he
hit a 3,
in the fourth quarter. Anyways, Kevon Looney, non-factor, right? So that was interesting. But yeah, so I was going to ask you, who do you think in the conversation of exposing weaknesses from these young guys, what stood out to you in terms of which players got exposed and what those weaknesses were?
Jalen and Amen Thompson, and because they're ball handlers, they don't want the Warriors are not going to give you the paint. You're not if you do get to the basket, you're going to get hit, and it's physical. And there's guys grabbing at you, hitting you. They're big. They're tough. They're a tough team. They play hard. Towards the end, we got out hustled. They took our calling card and flipped it on us. Even though we won the rebounding battle, a lot of key moments, they just win those. The 50-50 balls that you need to get it, they win those. So our guards really, in the playoffs. Okay, I'll take this back to last year with the time, that March stretch that we had where we were winning that game when Şengün was hurt. A lot of it was off of transition, fast-paced play. And I've told this channel this before. In the playoffs, you cannot win like that because the teams are going to slow. The pace goes down to a grind, and every single possession matters. And if you're not able to capitalize on every possession, and you're not able to think out the plays and map out the court and get into a set that puts your team at an advantage on a play-by-play basis, which is what good teams do, what a lot of vets do, then you're going to waste a lot of possessions. And I just felt like between Jalen was over dribbling a lot. He was probing too much, going too much into isolation. And that may be his fault. Maybe it's Ime's fault for them not getting to sets that gets him more going downhill. And Amen Thompson, just the indecision whether to shoot or attack. And the stuff he does when he gets up in the air and tries to pass off a jump on the last minute, you can get away with that, in February, bro, when you're playing Utah. But in the playoffs, bro, you can't do that. You cannot do the jump passes. You can't go in there and just hope for the best, that you're going to find something midair or flying out of bounds and just throw it back. All those were just turnovers. And I think a lot of their inability to create really at an elite level is really being capitalized on by the Warriors right now. And that is something I'm going to be looking out for, because that's not going to change. So it's either two things. Either our offense sets have to generate better shots for them. For Jalen in particular, for our men, he might need to come off ball as a ball handler and get back in a dunker spot. And, that kind of changes up the double big dynamic. Maybe you can't do the triple big with him, Steven and Şengün. And then they just got to hit shots. Like, you got to hit your shots. Men shot 44% from the field, which for him is bad, because usually for his twos, he's at on a 60%. That's really where he hovers around. So I think the Warriors did a great job really clogging up the paint. And I'm not even going to talk about how bad Fred VanVleet was tonight, because, I mean, it's I don't know if he's lost a step or what, but yeah, I definitely expected more from him. If he plays decent, we have a better chance to win this game. I just think this is just like a big punch in the face for the Rockets, and it's really going to come down to how do you react to this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with anything. I don't disagree with anything you just said. I will talk about Fred VanVleet. It was Fred Jihad. I mean, he got to the point where, you know, you see a player that's shooting it because they're just like, I'm breaking out of the slump one way or another. And he just kept shooting and shooting and shooting. But you know what I saw? I saw Fred VanVleet. I saw the Fred VanVleet, Fred Jihad, of course, from the beginning of the season when he was Fred Jihad. And I think the reason for that, and the reason that we saw it earlier in the season, was because that's what he reverts to on this team when Jalen Green doesn't have it going. When Jalen Green is playing scared and he can't defer to Jalen and he feels like, hey man, I can't trust Jalen right now. Somebody's got to make something happen. I'm the only guy that can do it. If you remember, I think we had this conversation after they melted that lead to the Minnesota Timberwolves. And we talked about like, man, why does Fred do this? And I think, I forget, I want to say it was that episode, whatever, go back and look. If somebody's listening, go back and look and confirm for me. But I said the same thing. He looks around and he's like, man, who can I trust to go get a bucket? Jalen, not cutting it. Cam Whitmore at the time when he was playing, probably doesn't trust him on certain possessions. Jabari can't create. Şengün, the only guy he does trust, which is why they run the two-man game. And so he starts forcing up shots. And that's not to like excuse him because he was terrible tonight. And when he's Fred Jihad, we give him that name for a reason. But I think that's why you saw what you saw tonight. Amen missed so many layups that he usually makes. Tari Eason did too. I enjoyed Tari's minutes. I thought Tari played well, but man, he smoked some layups. And the most glaring one was when Şengün was on the fast break and made that kind of like Euro and just dropped it off. And when he did that, I thought he was about to turn it over. I didn't know where he was going with it, and just gifted it to Tari on the alley-oop right off the glass, point blank, bricked it right at a crucial point in the game as well. And they also made a lot of bad decisions in transition. I think it was maybe the third quarter or maybe it was the first half. But you just saw like they had chances when Golden State was trying to build the lead and create that cushion. They had chances to really kind of like chip away at it, and they just kept missing layups or turning it over in transition or just doing dumb shit, right? Another thing is I thought Amen was actually really bad on defense. He was over pursuing a lot. He was overplaying a lot. And it's almost like the Warriors knew that was going to happen because they were taking advantage of it, cutting to the basket. I mean, you could tell that that's something they discussed was like, hey, when they over pursue, cut to the basket. And it was just shades of the Harden series where the old Rockets series where like they were just cutting to the basket playing Warriors basketball. Another thing is, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but the Rockets need Dillon Brooks to be more aggressive. If they are going to get these types of performances, and I mean, let's hope that every game is not Fred and Jalen 7 of 34, 17 points. What is that? 0.5 points? I don't know what the math is on that, but basically they're twice as many field goal attempts as points. Like that is terrible. Okay. They shouldn't have even been in the game. With that being the case, the fact that they were in the game is a positive, but it's kind of crazy. But 7 of 34, 17 points combined. I think Jalen had 2 points in the second half, and I think it was 2 points. And those 2 points were like late on like a transition layup when we were already down by 10 with like a minute left. So it was basically garbage time. If that's what you're going to get, you need Dillon Brooks to do what he does. I looked it up real quick. He scored 20 or more points, I think 13 times this season. And when he did that, the Rockets won 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think they were 9-3. When he takes advantage and shoots, and he is Houston's best 3-point shooter in their starting lineup, especially on the volume that he takes, right? I think he ended the season 39%. Probably the most reliable 3-point shooter Houston has. And he only shot 5 threes, 2 of 5. He only shot 9 times, 3 of 9, right? He got, I think, a post-up bucket late, but like you didn't see that post-up on him that they used to do early in games. It was just a lot of Jalen over-dribbling, Amen over-dribbling. Like they were trying to compensate. Like they felt the clamps and they felt the pressure, and they were trying like to force the issue with their athleticism. And then they just kind of ran out of gas on empty tires when they would get to the basket. But yeah, all in all, man, I mean, if you're going to get that from the backcourt, you have to consider playing Aaron Holiday. And I'm not saying Aaron Holiday is going to save the series because that's like when you're relying on the fact that you're like, man, we got to play Aaron Holiday. That's probably a sign that you're not going to win the series. But if they're going to shoot I think they were 6 of 29 from 3 as a team. That's 21%. Fred was 2 of 13 by himself. So the rest of the team was 4 of 16, 25% as a team. If that's what you're going to get, you got to put shooters in the lineup. And Aaron Holiday is a 39, 40% 3-point shooter. at some point you need to consider Cam Whitmore as well. And I know that Cam, isn't going to, he's not creating off the dribble, and that's Jalen's primary purpose, in the role that he's in now. But man, you just need somebody who can put the ball into the hoop, and somebody who's also not going to succumb to the pressure and have fear. And what I saw tonight is I saw Alperen Sengun was not scared. That dunk on Draymond was awesome.
That was crazy.
Right. I saw Jabari Smith started out a little shaky, but he actually hit some big shots. Credit to him. And he showed some resolve. He still looked like trash anytime he had to dribble the ball. He had a move, I think, in the first or second quarter where he tried to spin move at the top of the key and just fell down and gave a turnover. But then Jalen and Amen, they just looked shook. Last thing before I flip it back to you, the stats were actually pretty even in a lot of ways, which is kind of surprising. I mean, the main difference is the Warriors shot 47% and the Rockets shot 39%. But from three, and that was also, I guess that was the main difference.
That was a big discrepancy, yeah.
Yeah, 12 of 32 for the Warriors, 6 of 29 for the Rockets, 37.5% for the Warriors, 21% for the Rockets. But the Rockets offset that with points in the paint. They outscored the Warriors points in the paint 54-4. Both teams gave up, Rockets 25, Warriors 23. Off turnovers. Rockets had 17 turnovers, Warriors 14. And then the Rockets missed 9 free throws, 11 of 20, and the Warriors were 11 of 14. But they out-rebounded them 52-36. They had 22 offensive rebounds to 6, 20 assists for the Warriors, 19 for the Rockets. So it was even in a lot of ways is what I'm trying to say. And so given that Jalen and Fred were historically bad, and Steph, by the way, hit some crazy shots, some super deep, tough angles. That one where he launched it over his shoulder going to his right. When that went in, I was like, all right, we're not going to win this game. And they were still right there with 5 minutes left. So it is.
Yeah. I mean, I think they got it down in the either late third or early fourth to a 3-point game, 73-76.
Fourth quarter.
Yeah, in the fourth quarter. And then we had, I think, some turnovers and some it all. And I think I hate agreeing.
Real quick. It was 76-73. And then they called that charge on Podziemski.
Yeah.
That the Rockets challenged.
Which was stupid. That was a terrible challenge by Ime. I'm going to get on Ime in a second. But
can I explain, though, where those challenges come from? Because I feel like people don't know. And go to my Twitter if you want to see the video. I posted a video when I sat behind the Rockets bench one time this season. They have a team there.
Yeah.
Video guys.
With the pad and the
they got a laptop.
5 different angles.
The iPads, and they're looking at all the angles. And so Ime's coaching, and it'll be a dead ball, and he's just frantically looking back and forth at them yo, challenge or not. And then they give him the go. They'll be yo, challenge it, or they're nah, leave it. And when they tell him, he follows what they say. So we put it on Ime. It's really on those guys on the bench who are making the call. Ime is not looking at those angles. He's not given any discretion because he's got to make the decision so fast that he just looks over and they're yes or no, and then he follows their lead. So just clarification.
I'm sure there's some type of signals he gets. I still think regardless, whoever it was, the coaching staff was a terrible challenge. But I hate to agree with Reggie Miller, but he did point out something that we've kind of talked about, the hierarchy of the team on scoring and their offensive in the half court. The half court offense was abysmal tonight. It looked like we just have never met each other and we decided to play a playoff basketball game. And you just see that because every trip down is something different. And once again, sometimes me, sometimes you, always us. Great moniker to have in the regular season. The playoffs, you can't play like that, bro. Because you have to know where your bread is buttered. You have to know what sets you want to get to. And I think, you laid out all the even stats we had, even though we out-rebounded them. At the end of the day, what really set the Warriors apart is that they were able to execute down the stretch when they needed to. You heard the commentators say it's my turn, your turn between Steph and Jimmy late in the game. And that's really in the playoffs. That's what it's going to be, right? It's going to be my turn, your turn. You think about the old Rockets, for example. This is going to be a hyper extreme example, but really in the playoffs, everything is reduced to what you do best. Now, Morey, D'Antonio Harden chose to do that as a primary play style, the Harden ISO or the Harden pick and roll, and they just abused it. But mathematically, the amount of points that generated was better than every offense damn near in the league at that point. So Morey and them were like, why not just do that a million times? I'm not for that type of basketball. I like variance when it comes to different play styles, but that style that Harden plays is great late in games, right? That is a fourth quarter playoff style, whereas you have to go to your best stuff. And to me, right at this point, the best stuff involves Alperen Şengün. I feel like our team doesn't have enough discipline to stick with any type of play and spam it. And to me, that's problematic because you have to be able to spam your best stuff in the half court. That means you go and run the same set over and over again till the team calls a timeout or they have to do a aggressive change in their defensive philosophy to compensate for it, whether it's trapping, sending a double, and then off of that you play. And there's too many trips down the line where we get a good shot, maybe on a pick and roll that leads to a pocket pass, leads to a downhill ISO that forces the help, gets a dunk for another teammate, or you see a man cutting or Steven out, or it's DHO that leads to some, and then the next play down is a totally different set. That has to change, and I think that what the Rockets are going to find out, and I think this is why it's good. Like this is good information for us to have is, what can you really rely on for this team as you go forward? And I think one game is not the end all be all. I'm going to give these guys a 1 game buffer. I expect Amen Thompson to be much better than he was in this first game. I expect Jalen to be much better and Fred and all those guys. But as the series progresses, the moment that the Warriors were able to execute in their sets, whether it was Jimmy hunting Fred or Jalen, or them trying to get into a pick and roll action and get Steph Curry free by running back and forth off screens. Can the Rockets counter that, and what are we going to do with that? Because if we can't solve that issue, if we can't solve their problems, and we don't have a problem for them to solve, it's going to be a quick series. It's going to be a quick series because execution, bro. Like, who do you trust more to execute? Jimmy Butler with the ball, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, or Şengün, Amen, Fred, and Jalen? Like that's really what it's going to come down to. So I'm looking for a lot in game 2. Like obviously we have to win game 2. You cannot go down 0-2 to the Warriors and expect to have a chance to win the series. So game 2 is going to be so crucial. Just Ime Udoka also, to me, he was outcoached. Some of the lineups that he put in there, the spacing was horrible. In theory, you think about, okay, yeah, these lineups, they've helped us in the regular season, but there are just some things that you just have to, as a coach, be able to see based on the matchup. I didn't like the double big lineup in the first half that had Amen Thompson out there and they had Amen on ball. Like that really just makes it so easy for them to guard us. I didn't like having some of the Jabari minutes. He was overplayed, in my opinion. They took him out a little bit late. Even Jabari played better, but he had 2 turnovers in the fourth quarter. One of them just getting a rebound and getting it ripped away from you. Like, those type of things matter, bro. And I've said this a million times. One play can lose a game for you in the playoffs. All it takes is one play. It takes one bad foul, one turnover, and it's a 5-point swing, and that's curtain. So this is a reality check for the young Rockets. This is the playoffs, man. This is real. This is where men are made, and guys got to wake up and step up, or the Warriors are going to make this quick work if the Rockets don't adjust.
Yeah, I mean, look, I hate to say it, but if the Rockets don't have a counterpunch, a sweep is on the table. Or a gentleman's sweep. Could very well just be a very short series. Warriors walk all over us, and that's that. Real quick, let's make sure, by the way, to firmly and boldly highlight Steven Adams. Steven Adams has been a revelation. The Rockets get their ass kicked by 20 plus if Steven Adams is not on the team. It's amazing what size can do. Pause. But just him on the boards, the hustle. I mean, for long stretches, he was dominant on the glass. Like he dictated what was happening in the game in numerous ways. So shout out to Steven Adams. He was the only Rocket that was in the positive, in the +4 in 20 minutes. So, I mean, shit.
Yeah, he was balling. I think Steve-O is, he's a man. That's a grown man.
Yeah.
I was lower on him to start the season, but he's been a great find for the Rockets. I think that, he just brings a certain physicality that we need, especially against these guys. I'm actually think like for the moment, it's not as bad as I would have thought. I think we matched the Warriors' intensity. Yeah. It just comes down to execution.
Well, so look, and by the way, Steven Adams is the type of big man you would see in the 90s. So again, my little rants that I go on, but like that is what grown, like Steven Adams is not a skilled big, but grown man size has that type of effect on a basketball
Yeah.
game. And your traditional big in today's NBA is not grown man size like that. They're tall and skinny. That's a grown man. So, but look, the main thing is that the Rockets got the taste of the comeback. They flushed out the nervousness and the anxiety, maybe not 100%, not completely, but like they took that punch and they could have just like rolled over and then game one's a wash and now they got to come back and try to find themselves in game two, but they found themselves in game one. It took them being down 23, but they found themselves, right? So that is important. If they can come into the rest of the series knowing that about themselves and having that belief, as like cliche as it sounds, then the mental slots into place and then other things follow after that once you get your mental right. We talked about how they were going to come into the game most likely jittery, anxious, nervous. How could you not, right? First playoff game and you're facing the Titan Warriors and you get that first Steph crazy three, you get the second one, you know, like you start to find out and you're like, oh my God, and it's a lot to take in. And then the refs start piling on, blah, blah, blah. Another thing is, I said the defense was real. Steph was hitting tough shots. Jimmy Butler was hitting tough shots. I mean, there were some, like he was completely manned up and he just hit like a fadeaway off balance, you know, typical Jimmy Butler shot. And it's just one of those where you're like, well, you got to tip your cap, nothing you can do. But the point is the Rockets played them well. The defense was there. They held them to 95 points. Look, execution wise, that's why I have a tough time putting it on Ime. I mean, you can't coach 4 of 19, 3 of 15. At some point, I think he's just out of options unless he is willing to like dig in his bag and go get Aaron Holiday off the bench, or if he's willing to potentially experiment 3 minutes with Reed Shepherd, which could potentially lose you the game or maybe win you the game. Like those are going to be drastic moves. Cam Whitmore. So I feel like he's a little hamstrung and handcuffed in that regard. He's got his rotation. That's what he's sticking with right now, mixing and matching a bunch of guys that can't shoot. And then your two best on-ball creators shitting the bed completely. Like, I don't know how you really coach around that. So that's tough. Main issue here is the Warriors have the two best players in the series. The Rockets are supposed to have the next three, right? And Draymond's not included in that because he's not an offensive threat. The Rockets are supposed to have Alperen Sengun, Jalen Green, and Amen Thompson as those next three. And, you know, and then from there we get into the battle of like what the nuances are. But tonight, Jalen Green and Amen Thompson were not on that list, right? It was Jimmy Butler, Steph Curry against Alperen Sengun, and I guess Steven Adams. To your point about the hierarchy, and yeah, Reggie Miller did mention this, and it's like it's a known fact, right? All lives matter offenses do not work in the playoffs. That's why those 60-something win 4 All-Star Atlanta Hawks got swept by LeBron, right? It's kind of like it's not whatever. It's smoke and mirrors to some degree. This is the kind of game where Alperen Sengun needs to, when he's got it going like that, he needs to shoot 20 to 25 shots, period. He shot 18 and he had 4 free throws. And I think he had 1 field goal attempt in the fourth. Like at some point, and this is kind of the downside of all these guys coming up together, is that like they, you know, maybe it's hard for them to look at one guy and be like, yo, that's the guy. Like maybe, I don't know. I'm not saying it's an ego thing. I'm just saying they're all together and they've all grown together and kind of entered this like limelight together. So I think I just don't think they look at each other like, I don't think they put each other on pedestals and they kind of view themselves as equal to one another. But this is the kind of situation where they have to have the maturity to be like, yo, I don't have it going. You don't have it going. Sengun's got 20 something. Like every possession he touches the ball, we run through him like he's our leader right now, and we got to ride that. And that's not what they did. Now there is some value to trying to play through the slump and then breaking through. I kind of had a feeling that Jalen like he had an awful first half. He was like 1 for 7. I think he had 5 points. Kind of had a feeling that he was going to like come out and shake it off, and it just totally, that's not what happened, right? So at some point, man, you got to be like, yo, we got a horse. Let's ride the horse. And then free throws. We talked about it, but Jalen and Amen combined 1 of 6 from the free throw line. So like not only did they not have it going from the field, which again, I realized Amen in the fourth had some moments, right? He had the post up on Steph. I think he had a fast break move. He had the pass to Steven Adams, which ended in a dunk. So like he kind of got it going. He had the little fadeaway. He hit that fadeaway to make it 79-75 when it was 79-73. But other than that, he did not play, you know, particularly well offensively. But if you're not going to have it going from the field, you got to make up for it. Getting to the line, you have to be aggressive to get to the line. And I will admit, Jalen didn't get the best whistle, so maybe he could get a better one. But he's got to realize if I'm not getting that whistle, I'm not getting that whistle. And that's why I tweeted like, yo, if you're a ball handler that can't shoot against this Warriors team, you have to get to the rim and you got to be able to finish through contact because that's how they're going to play you. That's how the refs are going to call it. And if you're not able to do that, the Warriors are going to dare you to do it. They're going to put you under a microscope and they're going to say, do it. Show us you can do it because we don't believe you. Right. So it's a tough spot to be in. And it's tough that you've got to rely on a double big lineup as like, yo, this is how we're going to beat you, right? With one guy who's like not an offensive threat at all, right? Just like manhandling you physically. And then we got to hope for other guys to really be able to fill the gaps and be able to hit shots. So it is a tough proposition. But if you want a positive, the positive is that, like I said, the Rockets kind of got the monkey off their back and got right back in the game and proved to themselves like, hey, man, if we had imposter syndrome before, I think we belong, right? And so that's big. But what they do with that from here is the huge question. And whether or not they have enough talent to actually get over the hurdle, huge question. Last thing I'll say to drive home the point of Alperen Şengün having to be the guy when he's got this going. Do you know who led the team in field goal attempts tonight?
Şengün?
Nope.
Who was that?
Frederick VanVleet. 4 of 19.
Oh, Lord.
2 of 13 from 3. Şengün was 11 of 18. So VanVleet took the most shots. Jalen was 3 of 15. Those are your top 3 field goal attempts. And then the only other Rocket to attempt double digits was Tari Eason, 3 of 10. So every Rocket other than Şengün, there were 3 other Rockets other than Şengün that shot double digits in field goal attempts, and they were a combined 7, 10, 34, 10 of 44.
That's crazy.
For a total of 23 points.
Yeah, and once again, it goes back to the key point of discipline and them being comfortable with whoever's playing the best, just being able to concede and say, you know what, let's get it to that. And there were too many plays where it's just random coming in and out. Now, some positives I did see. Obviously, the rebounding. I don't think if I'm the Warriors coaching staff, I like seeing that rebounding disparity between our team and theirs because no matter you assume that Jalen and Fred are going to be better. There's no way they can be worse than they were tonight as far as shooting. Even if they're just mildly better with that rebounding gap that we had on them, we should be able to capitalize and be able to steal some wins off of the Warriors. I do see that, Jimmy went off and he's going to hit those shots. Steph is going to hit those shots. We've seen it a million times. These are what these, Hall of Fame level players do. They're going to hit tough shots in tough moments. If the Rockets are going to lean into the team concept of playing, then guys just have to fall into a role. And you can't have too many players that think that, okay, it's my turn to go. You have to buy into a role. Even with Jabari, he came out rough, and then he bought into his role. A lot of his impact came off of rebounds, getting second chance points and putbacks. Guys just gotta fall into what they're doing. And if I have to blame Ime for something, is the fact that they haven't really established that level of order within the team. It's really, he encourages the randomness, and I don't think we have enough offensive creation from different positions to be able to play like that. Other positives that I did see, I feel like overall, even though Jimmy went off, I feel like we played him pretty good, like just straight up on defense. I feel like Steph, like you said, he had to hit a lot of tough shots. It could have been much worse. I think they guarded him pretty well. I think their defensive scheme that they're running against the Warriors, I like it. There were a lot of blown cuts that the Warriors got where guys were just falling asleep and defense was cutting behind them. So they should clean that up. A lot of miscommunication. There was a play where Jalen and Dylan both went to trap. I forgot who it was. It wasn't even Steph. It was Pods or somebody, and they were supposed to switch. They both trapped, went to the ball handler, and somebody just slipped for an open layup.
That was Jalen.
Yeah, it was. Who was it? It was like Pods. It wasn't even. I don't think it was Steph.
I think it was Moses Moody. If I'm
come on, bro. Why are y'all? So like we can clean these things up. The rotations probably need to be a little tighter. I mean, I wouldn't mind if they put Aaron Holiday in. I don't think we're there yet. I feel like it just comes down to moments when these games. There's going to be a moment in the game where the game could go either way. And it's going to come down to the team that has the players that have the ability to execute and capitalize on the moments. And if once again that edge is always going to lean towards the Warriors, and the way I look at the Rockets team right now, they are learning on the job as to what actually the playoffs entail. Like, what are the type of discipline you have to be effective in the playoffs. They're learning this in real time, and the Warriors already know this. Right, this is the difference between a team that's been there or not. And you hope that as the series progresses, they kind of get a feel for it. Like if you've been in a fight initially, the first hit kind of like wakes you up, and you're like, okay, I'm in a fight now. I hope the Rockets know they're in a fight now. Like, you got punched. Question is, what are you going to do about it? So I'm expecting them to come out in game 2 and really fix a lot of the issues that we saw in game 1. The jitters should not be there. I expect Jalen to be aggressive, even though the whistle was pretty bad for him. He just has to just be better. I think there are some things that he became like, if they're going to collapse on the defense, like on him when he drives the ball, then he needs to become a facilitator. And this is something we complimented him on doing towards the end of the season, is being able to read the defense. But the way I see it between him and the men, and Fred to a lesser extent, when the bullets start flying, a lot of that, you revert back to what you know. And that's the true test of whether like a student has learned something when it's like chaotic. Can you like just slow down and just read what is happening? And I feel like a lot of the reads him and the men were making weren't good, because I feel like the Warriors were just making it really hard on them. Like, get in the paint. If they're going to throw 3-4 bodies at you, create for your teammates. And the other teammate needs to be ready to shoot. And Ime needs to, like, when they watch this film, they need to look at that. This is the playoffs. The Warriors are not going to sit on their laurels. They're going to make adjustments. Even the little things we did good, their job as a coaching staff is going to be to take that away, right? So Steve Kerr right now, they're looking at the rebounding. How can we rebound better? How can we guard Şengün better? We don't want him going off, right? So all these things they're gonna take away. I'm curious to see what Ime is going to do, and the Rockets, how they adjust to what they saw this game on in game 2. I think it's Wednesday, which will be, to me, is going to really determine if the Rockets are viable in these playoffs. This game 2 is so pivotal right now. Honestly, the series is on the line that quickly.
Oh yeah. Oh, so no, yeah. If you go down 0-2 heading into San Francisco, it's over.
Yeah,
unless they're made of what the '95 Rockets were made of, which that would be a nice ending. But I mean, that ain't normal. Some observations here. Kind of to your point. I mean, you know what's tough is that they waste a game. Warriors were 12 of 32 from 3, 37.5%. Steph was 5 of 9. So they waste a game where the rest of the team goes 7 of 23, right? Less than 33% from 3. And if you count Pods and Steph, they were 8 of 17 from 3, which means the rest of the team, aside from them, was 4 of 15, right? Almost 25%. So you waste a game where the role players didn't kill you. And that's tough to kind of swallow, because there's no guarantee that's going to happen again. One interesting thing is the Warriors have 4 players in their starting lineup play 35 minutes or more. And the most minutes that anyone off their bench played was 16. And Buddy from Gary Payton II, Buddy Hield played 15 minutes, and Quentin Post played 12 minutes. But only 3 bench players played double digits, which is interesting. And they seem to supplement the minutes of Moses Moody. So Moses Moody played 28 minutes. The other 4 starters 35 or more. And then they kind of went by committee from there. And Steve Kerr played 10 guys. He played Looney 9 minutes and Santos 7 minutes. You look at the Rockets, they only have 2 players that played 35 or more minutes, and that was Van Vliet, 40 minutes, and Şengün. Van Vliet's the only player that played 40 minutes for the Rockets. But on the bench, they had 3 players play 20 or more minutes. All 3 of their bench players off the bench played 20 or more minutes. So it's kind of interesting to see that minutes distribution break down. The Warriors are going to go heavy. Steph and Jimmy played 42, 40 minutes for Steph and 42 for Jimmy. They're going to ride those guys, right? And they're going to ride that starting lineup and then just kind of like get breathers here and there. The Rockets are, I mean, to the point of what we've been talking about, they're just more so by committee. And is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? I don't know. But yeah, Jalen and Amen, in terms of facilitating, I mean, look, they have to understand what their counter is, because if they can't hit shots, they got to figure out how to get to the basket and finish.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. If they're unable to do that, the Rockets will lose the series. At some point, Amen and Jalen are going to have to put pressure on the defense and draw attention. And then if they're able to do that, they got to finish through contact, and then they got to find shooters, and those shooters have to actually make the shots. So I don't know. The big thing for me is that the Warriors had one of the big things is the Warriors had 4 players with 3 or more assists. So they were moving the ball. They were finding guys, right? Like it wasn't just one guy beating you. Maybe, yeah, it was two in terms of scoring, it was 2 guys. And then of course Pods had 14 and stepped up, but they had Draymond 3 assists, Jimmy Butler 6 assists, Steph 3 assists, Podziemski 5 assists, right? Like moving the rock. What that combines for 6, 9, 12, 17 assists total from those 4 guys. Rockets only had 2 guys with more than 3 assists, and that was Amen had 6 and Fred VanVleet had 7, pretty much their primary ball handlers. So it doesn't really tell you the whole story, but it does tell you that the Warriors are sharing the ball and they're cutting. And if the Rockets are not able to watch the film and bottle that up, they're going to be in trouble. But if they can take those cutters away, if Steph is going to have this kind of series, then I don't know, there's probably not much you can do about it. But if you're able to take the cutters away and then you're going to force Steph to hit all these tough shots, at some point it should tilt back in your favor if you can take advantage of it, right? That's just the big question. Like, are the Rockets able to take advantage of it? Offensively, like it was really ugly. Like there were possessions, they were just getting rebound after rebound after rebound, and they couldn't do anything with it. Almost to the point that it was like a confidence killer, more so than if they had just not gotten the rebound and just gone back and played defense, So Fred VanVleet, though, shooting 19 times cannot happen unless he's making shots. That is not going to position the Rockets for success in any iteration. Is there any point at which you do legitimately start to consider any of Cam Whitmore, Aaron Holiday, or Reed Shepherd?
Bro, I think that's like, I don't see it. I don't see Ime, even if it goes really, really bad. I think unless it's a blowout, I don't trust any of those players. Aaron Holiday, I would give Aaron a chance.
That is hilarious to hear you say, by the way, because I know you don't like Aaron. Because I know you're not like an Aaron Holiday fan. So the fact
no. But I give him a chance. I give him a chance because of his shooting. My biggest issue with him is he thinks he's Drew Holiday. So you're Aaron, bro. But I think that is, I wouldn't trust Reed Shepherd in the playoff series. Not Cam Whitmore. You might as well just give the ball to the other team. In my opinion, maybe it gets to that point. But to me, it's, if anything, Ime will just drill down on a specific lineup he likes. And just 5-6 guys are just going to play, and that's totally fine. I agree. The points thing, the minutes thing you pointed out, I think it is fascinating that they're not more focused on getting the best 5 out. I feel like one of the issues I had in this game was how diverse his lineups were. Even though a lot of guys didn't play, he was doing a lot of different combinations I didn't like.
Ime?
Ime. There was just too much going on with the rotations. I think he needs to do what the Warriors do. Find at least 2 or 3 guys that you trust. They need to be out there at all times in some combination, whether it's 2 of them out of the 3, or and there were too many times like where Jalen, Şengün were off, or Şengün and Fred were off the court. As bad as those players played, functionally, I still think they provide something for our team that we need for them to do. And it's just, we just had gaps in our lineups, I think, especially in the second quarter, that really blew the game open for us. So, what I expect is, go ahead.
It was that bench lineup.
It wasn't good. It wasn't good. The Jabari coming in and how bad he was playing, and
it's when Amen ran with the bench, and I think it was Jabari.
So those type of things, like, you can't have that in the playoffs, bro. Like, Şengün got to play 40 minutes. As Jalen got to play 40 minutes, and you got to coach him through some of these things. And I think there's something that we could do as an offense, not even maybe just Jalen and Şengün together on the court. This is another thing about growing and learning and becoming a vet. Hey, call your own number, bro. Like, get into pick and roll and go downhill and force that trap. Because the Warriors, the way they were playing Jalen was they were high hedging on him and showing real high. So if you know that tactically, as a ball handler, I want that, because I know my big man can pass, right? So this comes back to winning basketball and just cerebral, like being cerebral about the game of basketball, inviting that to come, playing out of that. Then from there, everybody else knows, okay, here's what they're doing, guys. They're trapping Jalen. All right, I'm a cut from man, you go over there. Like, this is what we miss. And, a lot of people talk about the Kevin Durant. I'm still thinking this team needs a primary ball handler that's actually like a chess player that can get guys in the right things. Because to me, that's really what's missing right now. It's like who's seeing the game for what it is, the game behind the game. And I from the ball handling position, we don't have the guys that are seeing it, whether it's youth or just ability with Fred VanVleet.
Well, can I
Just
tell you
being able
though,
to see that would be helpful.
can I tell you though what's complicated about that is that Jalen Green is at his best. His ceiling and potential is at its best when he's handling the ball. If he's just like he's not just like a catch and score shooting guard. He's like I gotta pound the rock. I gotta feel the ball. I gotta have rhythm and like get into it. Like when he's playing wide and open and fast and he's got the ball in his hands, that's when he's at his best. Off the ball, insert Rip Hamilton joke, but he's just not like that kind of player, right? So you get like we could talk about Harden, for example, right? That would probably be the one that people are, oh my God, we should have James Harden, which by the way, for his sake, I watching that game one.
Yeah.
I would not want James Harden to go through that again. So like good for him to not have to deal with it. Like, it's just not, it would not be fair or fun for either party to have Harden back in Houston dealing with that shit again years later. That would have been crazy. But you do like imagine like a Harden, right? Like what happens with Jalen Green and Alperen Şengün? Because like those guys need the ball. So I agree with you. They do need like someone who actually can handle in traffic and manipulate defenses with the rock in their hand while thinking through the progressions and what they're trying to do. But at the same time, I don't know how that coincides with Jalen Green's potential ceiling. Look, they are hedging high and they're funneling him in to the teeth of their defense because they are relying on the fact that they got strong Draymond Green, Jimmy Butler, high IQ guys that are going to absorb the contact, deliver a blow, and make it a really tough shot when they get there. And if they're not going to get called for fouls, they're going to win that battle. What I think the Rockets need to consider doing, at least just to, maybe not the whole time, but just to change things up and kind of give a different look to the Warriors and then utilize the athleticism they have when those guys are off, like Amen Thompson and Jalen Green, is you got two bigs that can pass from the high post, man, from the elbow. I mean, two guys who can really pass, and one of them can score in your face. So at some point, you got to invert that spacing, and you can't let them get all the way up above the 3-point line. You got to start operating from closer to the basket with a Şengün, with the spacing proper so that no one's coming to dig down from the elbow, down onto the elbow and like rip him from behind when he makes a spin move or whatever. But can they implement that in a playoff series? Probably not. But they do have a player who has the innate IQ in Şengün to be able to like play that way. And man, they got to start considering how to do it, because if the ball handlers are going to be getting punked like this and they're not going to be able to shoot and make contested shots, it's not going to work for the series. So at some point they got to figure out how to simply get their actions initiated from closer to the basket while simultaneously taking the inability to shoot and flipping it from a weakness to a positive by activating the athleticism that those two guys have.
Yeah, I would say with my point about the point guard, I still think there's a in between where you could have a point guard out there that still gets the team into the best sets without always being on ball. That's kind of what the vision I have is like a
Chris
better
Paul.
Mike Conley, like that is because that's one of my disappointments with Fred is that even though he is our best ball handler, he still doesn't always, if it's not involving him, he doesn't control the game. Like I've seen a guy map out the game from off ball too. Like, okay, you go over here. I'm going to give you the ball. I come up. Like we just need a floor general that can, when they're on and off ball, because I think that the Jalen and LP pick and roll is still something that we need to do more of at base. And then from there, but it takes, there still needs, because what I don't want
away
is
from that.
Yeah, I mean, they went away from because the traps and the high hedges were coming, and to me, that's Jalen ball handling needs to get a lot better because he almost turned the ball over a couple of times in that. But also that to me that shows me a lack of intentionality about what I'm doing on the court at that time. Like if I know what I'm doing, I'm going to play into that and get into a position where we can run the whole offense. Just like guess what? Just like the Warriors do. They want you to trap Steph. You know what I mean? And from there, you're going to get guys cutting. You're going to get Draymond going downhill. He can get into his floater bag. It just causes chaos. And while you're doing that, Steph is resetting to get a kick out three. So it's just intentionality. Like you said, this team goes as far as Jalen goes. Obviously, Fred can't be that bad. A lot of the players can't be that bad. But I'm curious to see how they're going to counter. I do want to, once again, I know we didn't spend a lot of time on Alperen Şengün, but the fact that he is able to not only survive but thrive against the Warriors in a playoff setting, as far as when you think about what the ceiling of this team is huge for them. Because I know for Stone and for a lot of the front office, this is something that they were looking to see about him, how he plays in the playoffs, and the fact that defensively, I think he had a great defensive game. I mean, in isolation, he was getting in the stance. He was rotating, closing out on damn near every play. And, that was great to see because for a player that we think is going to be great, you look at all the records he's breaking. He's going to be all-star. He's an all-star, possibly might make it an all-NBA team, a third team if the votes go right. This is, I mean, if you have anything to look at in the future going forward, is at least that whatever he had this year was not a fluke. Like, this dude is really like that. And I think for Rockets fans, this is a positive to look forward. When the other guys catch up to that, then we might have some cooking. I expected it as quickly as game 2, bro. I cannot go 0-2. We cannot get swept by the Warriors. I don't think we're going to get swept, even a gentleman's sweep. We have to come back and counter in game 2. I feel like we can. I feel like the way the game's going to, and I'm asking you a prediction of game 2. I think the Rockets are going to win game 2. I think we win it, and I think it's gonna be a blowout win, or at least a double-digit loss for the Warriors, because this is going to be one of their better shots they're going to take at us. And as much as the Rockets play bad, I feel like this was, like you pointed out, it was a very evenly matched game, and a couple things here or there, it might turn out a little differently. I just feel like we have a way better version of our team that can show up. And I think if they do, if this becomes even more evenly matched, our athleticism, if we can get a little more discipline, I think we can still win the series. But it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be tough.
It's gonna be tough. Yeah, look, shout out to Alperen Şengün. I mean, I told you on the pod we did before game 1, I told you at the very least we're gonna find out a lot. And so after game 1, which is not the total story, I get it, right? We got a whole series to play. But after game 1, the game 1 report card is Alperen Şengün, Pitbull, and then the other guys TBD, right? So we'll see. But yeah, I mean, the Rockets player hasn't gotten in Draymond Green's head since James Harden.
Oh my God. He was cooking. The TNT crew, I know some of y'all watched local. They try to say that Draymond they did this montage. I'm like, what are y'all watching? Bro's getting cooked.
Yeah, he was, and he had Dre pissed on the foul and like bumping him at the free throw line, and he was not backing down. He dunked on his head. I haven't seen a Rocket
that dunk was nasty, bro.
Yes, I haven't seen a Rocket dunk on Draymond's head since James Harden did it, if you remember that one where he cocked it back and bow. But so man, that is like, that translates, right? We talk about what translates to the playoffs.
That's real. That's the potentially defensive player of the year. Bro, we got a player that could score on Draymond at will. I've never been able to say that as a Rockets.
Yeah.
Even Harden struggled against Draymond in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. We have that. So we should be capitalizing on that. That at least we can. Oh, yeah.
I just looked it up. Sabonis, his high in the playoffs in that series was 24 points. So Alperen Şengün game 1 already
is different. More. The Sabonis is right? He was just it's different.
Yeah, I mean, I think we put that comp to bed. We'll see how the series plays out. But like, again, all the talk about in a playoff series he's going to get played off the floor, can't hold up on defense, all that now just looks laughable.
Yeah.
And so
I think they trap him. They're going to send a trap.
They're going to have to. Well, we'll see. I think if
the shooting is going to be tied to the shooting of the other players, in my opinion.
I think if we threaten them, they'll trap him.
Yeah,
maybe they'll start the game trapping. I don't know, but if it's not if they're not threatened, I guess it doesn't matter. But yeah, I think they are going to trap him, which hopefully wakes some other guys up. But yeah, positive is Alperen Şengün after game 1. Like, okay, that's a dude, right? We got a guy. So that's a super big, super plus, and super positive. Game 2. I got to be honest here. I think Golden State wins, and here's why. They won game 1 with great players making great shots for the most part, right? And with the Rockets shitting the bed, of course, on their own accord. Game 2, I those role players are going to step up at some point, right? And when they do, they're going to be backbreakers. Like just like those Steph off balance deep ass threes are backbreakers. You get a Gary Payton three-pointer night. You know, you get Buddy Hield hitting 5 threes, Quentin Post making a difference. Any combination of any of those types of things happening, and then things get really chaotic for the Rockets. And I think the Warriors have that in them still. I also think that the Warriors, they only went to the line 14 times. The refs were pretty bad, I thought, on numerous occasions. They just made bad calls, missed like out of bounds type plays, right? But we haven't still seen a game. Like Jimmy Butler only had 6 free throws, right? I know the refs have one in their back pocket where Jimmy Butler where he goes to the line 15 times.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so I am worried about that type of stuff. And then just to be quite honest with you, I don't know what Houston's counter is. I mean, we did the numbers, man. Jalen Green against the Warriors this season has been awful.
Right.
12.5, not counting tonight, it was 12.5 points on 31%, and that's rounded up. 31% from the field, 25% from 3, right? And tonight, I mean, you didn't even get that. You got 7 points on 20% shooting, 0% from 3, 2 free throw attempts only, and only 2 assists. So you didn't even get 12.5 points on 31% shooting, which is bad, right? And that's a trend. It's a pattern at this point with this matchup. It doesn't necessarily close the book on him as a player. I think it does open a discourse if this continues, but this matchup for him has been bad. I don't know what it is. I don't know if Steve Kerr just has his number. I don't know if the style, it just doesn't work for him. I don't know if he's nervous about like playing the Warriors and Steph and Draymond and all this. But yeah, he just shrinks in this moment against this team. And he's really going to have to buck that trend and turn it around for the Rockets to, you know, have a chance in this series. And he hasn't really proven he can do that except for that fourth quarter when they played him at the end of the regular season, which was positive, you know. But basically the question is, at what point does we've seen Jalen struggle before, and then we've seen him like figure it out mentally. And it always seems mental, which plays into the rhythm, which plays into the confidence. He's a confidence player. And when he doesn't have his confidence, he doesn't have his rhythm, he doesn't have his swagger, he's just really like robotic in a shitty kind of janky way. When he's got all those things, it's fluid and it looks awesome and oh my God, superstar, right? But that's the duality of Jalen Green. And so at what point is he in this series going to wake up and go, hey man, Steph Curry can't guard me. I can do whatever I want. I can cross over, step back. I can get to the bucket. I'm not going to like shy away and kind of like duck to the side off the layup. I'm going straight at them and I'm cocking back and I'm dunking it, right? When does he like transform mentally? Is it game 2, game 3, game 4? Is it, you know, the Rockets are down by 15, down in the series 3-1, and he finally like goes off and it's too late? Like, I don't know. If he does it in a timely fashion, the Rockets can win the series still. If he takes too long to wake up, or if he simply does not wake up, they will lose the series. And again, I'm not putting it on Jalen Green as much as it sounds like I am. It's just the reality is you need somebody to initiate from the perimeter in order to win playoff series. And he is their best bet. It's him and Amen Thompson. But obviously Jalen has the step back 3 and he can score from all 3 levels. So it's him, right? If he's ready for the moment, he's going to be ready for the moment. But it's not going to be Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet's not capable of it. It might be Amen Thompson as an ancillary player, but like he simply can't hit the perimeter shot, and Golden State's going to dare him to do it. That's the main part, right? So it's Jalen Green. If Jalen Green can tap back in to the dude that played so well for the second half or the second whatever, last 50 games, whatever it was of the season, Houston has a shot. But if he's playing scared and he doesn't figure it out soon enough, it's probably gonna be over quick.
You know, that's we can end it there. Jalen, we need you, bro.
Yeah,
we need you. Cue the Michael Irving thing. What are you gonna do? They just came into your house and took your food out your refrigerator, bro. What are you gonna do? We need bro to step up. So I expect him to. Roosh thinks Warriors got game 2. I think we got game 2. Y'all let us know in the comments and in the chat who you got winning game 2 and why. And then let us know also if this game 1 changes your prediction on the series that you have put in the previous pod. You know,
what was your series prediction?
I think I didn't give one because I said it's too early. I think we just said we're gonna do the.
But I just mean like in the conversations you're having and all that.
Oh, okay. I had us if we won. I have it as a scenario. I think if the Rockets win, it's probably gonna be in 6. If the I think if the Warriors beat us, it's going to be either a quick like 5-game, 4-game, or if it goes 7, I give it to the Golden State. I just think the intensity of a game 7, I don't think we're ready for it. So I think we need to take care of business. We need to go win in Golden State. They might get one more, and just I think if we can figure something out with them, then we might be able to do it. But we'll see. They have been a really good team since Jimmy Butler was added, and you keep hearing that they were 21-3, 22-3. I mean, we were one of the few teams to actually beat them in that game we won in Golden State. So this is not an easy team. I did not want this matchup, but I like this matchup because it exposes so much of the weaknesses of our team. And once again, I say this all the time. These are the moments where you get to learn about yourself as a player. As you go into the summer and the off season, it makes you have to adapt and change your training, your approach to the game. And if you don't, then you're not going to be looked at in the league as an elite player for that much longer. So for even if our guys struggle and maybe somebody else plays good, maybe Şengün struggles, maybe Amen, maybe it's Jalen, this is going to how they react to these type of series is going to define how they are as players. So that's why I'm saying this is all gravy for me. But it is some things we can take away from it. And I hope people get to see the stuff that I've been saying and Ruth's been saying for some time about the game of basketball. It's not about, we like this player, we don't like this player. The game is the game, bro. It hasn't changed. The game is the game. And it's not going to change for anybody. And if you can't handle the game being the game, then, this might not be the channel or the sport for you to watch. But at the end of the day, we hope the Rockets come through. And if you guys are new to the channel, make sure you hit the subscribe button. If you like this video, hit the like button. Keep rocking the chop shop. We're going to keep dropping that. Bye.